The tiny crowned lady who risked everything for a human touch, high above a broken planet. A floating city drifted in slow circles. It was made of smooth metal and glowing stone. Soft lights moved along its surface like calm rivers. Inside the city lived a people who feared the ground below. The planet was wild, full of storms, sharp rocks, and violent life. Long ago, the people had escaped it and promised never to return. At the center of the city stood a tall chamber shaped like a bell. Inside that chamber lived their ruler. She was very small. Her body was no taller than a human child's hand. Her skin shone like pale silver, and her eyes were large and dark. On her head rested a living crown, thin and bright, shaped like a circle of light. The crown was not only a symbol, it was her strength, her shield, and her prison. Through it, she felt the city, the people, and the machines, as if they were part of her own body. She had ruled since birth. The people called her the Crowned Lady. They believed she was chosen by fate itself. They believed she was perfect. She did not believe that. Every day she sat on her floating seat, surrounded by silent advisors who spoke only through thought. Words were not used among her kind. Sound was considered dangerous and wild. Touch was forbidden. Long ago, touch had brought sickness and death. Since then, all contact was avoided. Distance was safety. Isolation was survival. The crowned lady obeyed these rules, but inside her mind, something felt empty. She watched the planet below through great windows. She saw storms tear across the land. She saw mountains break and reform. She saw creatures fight, bleed, and die. And yet, life always returned. The planet refused to stay silent. One cycle, the warning lights changed color. An object entered the sky. It burned as it fell, trailing fire and smoke. The city sensors followed it closely. It was not one of their own. Its shape was wrong. Its energy was unstable. An advisor sent a sharp thought to her mind. It was a human vessel. Humans were rare, dangerous, unpredictable. The crowned lady leaned forward slightly. The crown reacted to her interest and brought the image closer. She saw the vessel break apart as it struck the planet. Fire spread across the ground. Metal shattered. The advisor sent a single command: ignore it. She hesitated. Then she felt it. A signal, weak, broken, but alive. Something inside the wreck was still moving. She focused harder. The image sharpened. Through smoke and flame, she saw a human crawl from the broken shell. The human's body was large and heavy compared to hers. Its movements were slow and painful. One arm hung at a wrong angle. Dark liquid ran from its leg. The human fell. The advisor sent another thought. Bah! The human will die. This is not our concern. The crowned lady watched. The human stayed still for a long time. Wind pushed dust over its body. Fire burned nearby. Then, slowly, the human moved again. It pressed its hands into the dirt. It shook. It cried out, making sound into the empty air. Sound. The crowned lady felt a strange tightness in her chest. The human stood. It was wrong. By all known records, the human should not have stood. Its injuries were severe. Its energy levels were low. Its survival chances were near zero. Yet it stood. The human looked up. Its eyes faced the sky toward the floating city, though it could not truly see it. Still, the crowned lady felt as if the human was looking at her. For a brief moment, something passed between them. Not a signal, not a thought, just a feeling. Then the human took one step forward and collapsed again. The advisors sent urgent thoughts. End observation. Resume orbit. The crowned lady did not respond. She remained still, her mind locked on the fallen human. Her crown pulsed softly, reacting to her emotions. For the first time in many cycles, she felt fear. Not fear of danger, fear of loss. She sent a command. Prepare a retrieval unit. The advisors froze. Their thoughts became sharp and loud in her mind. This breaks law. Humans are forbidden. Physical presence is forbidden. She sent another command, stronger. Retrieve the human. Alive. Silence followed. Then obedience. A small craft detached from the city and descended toward the planet. It moved fast, avoiding storms and fire. The crowned lady watched until it vanished from sight. Her advisors surrounded her with concern. They warned her of sickness, of chaos, of old disasters. Humans were unstable. Their bodies were violent systems. Their minds were loud and full of conflict. She listened, but her attention drifted. She kept seeing the human standing up. Why did it stand? Time passed slowly. The retrieval craft returned hours later. Inside it, sealed within layers of energy, lay the human. Its body was wrapped in light to stop movement and contain unknown threats. Machines worked to stop the bleeding and repair the damage. Even then, the human's condition was critical. The crowned lady ordered the human placed in a holding chamber near her own. The advisors protested again. This was too close, too risky. She did not change her mind. When the chamber doors closed, the crowned lady finally allowed herself to rest. Her body was weak from the mental strain. The crown dimmed slightly as she floated back into her seat. Yet she could not sleep. Her mind kept returning to the moment on the planet, the pain, the effort, the refusal to surrender. She had never seen such a thing. Her people avoided pain at all cost. They shaped their lives around comfort and safety. Suffering was considered failure. The human had suffered and moved forward anyway. When the human woke, alarms whispered through the city. The crowned lady rose at once and focused her sight into the chamber. The human's eyes opened slowly. Confusion filled its face. It tried to move and failed. It made rough sounds, low and broken. Sound again. The crowned lady felt a strange warmth spread through her. She ordered the energy field lowered just enough for observation. The human turned its head and looked around. Fear showed in its face, but also curiosity. He kept part of it, paying on with it. When it saw the glowing walls and silent machines, it did not scream. It did not attack. It simply watched. The crowned lady leaned closer to the viewing barrier. She could see every detail. The small scars on the human's skin, the rise and fall of its chest, the way its hands clenched when it felt pain. One of the advisors sent a thought. We should erase its memory and release it. Another thought followed. Or end it now. The crowned lady felt anger flash through her. No. The advisors recoiled at the strength of her emotion. She studied the human for a long time. Then she noticed something new. When the human spoke softly to itself, its breathing slowed. Its heart rate stabilized. Sound, which her people feared, seemed to calm it. That made no sense. She adjusted the chamber sensors and allowed the sound to pass through her crown in a filtered form. The words were simple, broken, full of pain, but there was comfort in them. The crowned lady felt tears form in her eyes. She did not understand why. Suddenly a sharp warning struck her mind. Foreign signals appeared at the edge of the system. Ships not of her people. Old enemies who hunted rare life for profit and power. They had detected the human crash. They were coming. The advisors panicked. They demanded immediate movement, immediate defense, immediate sacrifice. Give them the human, they said. Avoid war. The crowned lady looked at the human lying in the chamber, still breathing, still alive. She remembered the human standing in fire. She made her choice. Raise the shields, hide the city, protect the human. The city shifted course. Lights dimmed. Defense systems activated. Far away, enemy ships closed in, unaware that a tiny ruler had just risked everything. The crowned lady placed her small hand against the barrier that separated her from the human. She did not touch, but she wanted to, and for the first time in her long rule, she waited for what would come next. The human awoke in a quiet chamber that glowed with soft blue light. The walls hummed faintly, a sound so low it was almost invisible to the ears. The human tried to move, but every limb felt heavy and unresponsive. A strange numbness ran through the body, like it had been drained of energy. Broken metal and fire-scorched dirt still clung to clothes, but none of it mattered as the human tried to understand where it was. A screen flickered above, showing strange symbols in a small glowing shape. The human could not read them. They made no sense, yet they felt alive. Something about the light seemed to watch, as if the chamber itself were breathing. Outside the walls, the crowned lady observed. Her eyes, large and dark, were fixed on the fragile figure that had survived impossible odds. She felt the human's pain as though it were her own, though her body did not ache. The crown pulsed in response, sending tiny signals that measured the human's heartbeat, the shallow rise of its chest, the tremble in its fingers. A soft alarm whispered through the city. It was not urgent, but it was precise. Another human was near, or perhaps a drone. The crowned lady ignored it, choosing instead to study this lone human who had endured fire, falling, and broken metal. The human moved its head slowly, eyes scanning the unfamiliar room. The human's voice came first as a low, shaky sound, words broken and confused. Hello? Is anyone here? The sound pierced her calm world. Her people had no voice. Sound was considered weak, dangerous. Yet now, listening to it, she felt something she had never known. Curiosity, warmth, and longing all collided in her chest. One of her advisors sent a thought, sharp and cold. Humans are dangerous. Do not allow contact. Contain it. Isolate it. She ignored the thought. The human tried to rise, its arm shaking. Energy fields held it in place, but loosely enough to allow movement. The human swung its legs over a soft platform, testing strength, testing pain. It groaned. A hand touched its head, brushing away ash. It paused. Human skin against unknown metal felt alien, but still it did not panic. The crowned lady noticed a strange pattern. Humans, unlike her people, did not avoid danger naturally. They did not hide from pain, sickness, or even fear. They faced it, even when it threatened their survival. She could not understand this behavior, It defied every principle her people had followed for centuries. "Are you alive?" the human whispered, voice hoarse. "Where am I?" Her heart, or the small thing that passed for her heart, tightened. She wanted to answer, but she could not. Sound was forbidden in her world. Touch was forbidden, yet every instinct screamed that she must reach across the barrier and touch this fragile being. Another warning came. Enemy ships were moving faster, cutting through the atmosphere below. The sensors detected them in low orbit. They had sensed the human signal from the crash. The human had no idea that danger approached faster than thought, faster than fear. The crowned lady made a decision. She lowered the energy barrier slightly, just enough to allow more observation. She could see the human's chest rise and fall more clearly, the trembling of its fingers, the slow blinking of its eyes. The human looked toward the glowing walls, confused, searching. She wondered what the human felt. Loneliness? Fear? Hope? She could feel it. The human pressed a hand against the soft wall of the chamber. Its touch caused a flicker of light. It paused, then slowly pressed more, unsure. This small act fascinated her. Humans express themselves through contact. Even a light touch could communicate something her people had never known. She felt it through the crown, not as pain, not as danger, but as something gentle, real, alive. Hours passed. The human's body healed slowly. Hours half passed. The human's body healed slowly. Machines worked efficiently, repairing internal injuries, stabilizing broken bones. Yet the human's mind stayed alert, observing, reacting, thinking. She watched as the human noticed other small creatures in the chamber, tiny worker aliens who tended to machines and lights. The human did not harm them. It spoke softly to them, even when no one could understand. The creatures responded with quick movements, blinking lights, and gentle hums. It was an unusual scene. Her people had no empathy like this. They acted efficiently, logically, and without emotion. The human's behavior was unpredictable, dangerous, the advisors insisted. But she did not care. She could not stop watching. Then a sudden alert burst through the city's sensors. Enemy ships were closer now, hundreds of meters away, cutting through atmosphere and magnetic fields. They were fast, silent, and armed. Their goal was clear. The human was a prize. The advisors sent a flurry of thoughts, desperate, demanding. Prepare weapons, release defenses, hide the human or destroy it. She did not respond immediately. Her gaze remained on the human. A strange tension filled her chest. The human had done nothing but survive, nothing but move forward. And yet that simple act, standing after the crash, refusing to surrender, had made her feel something alien, something forbidden, something dangerous. Her decision was made. Hide the city, protect the human. She moved through the chamber, a small figure against towering walls. She sent commands to the city's energy fields. Lights dimmed. The walls shimmered and disappeared from sensors. The city seemed to vanish into the sky, invisible to enemy detection. The human, unaware of the approaching threat, continued to explore the chamber. It tested machines, pressed panels, and observed the worker creatures. A flicker of understanding crossed its face. Even in pain, even with injuries, it tried to help where it could. The crowned lady leaned closer to the observation window, Her small hand hovered above the glass, almost touching. She resisted. To touch a human could be fatal. One contact might destroy her, or worse. Yet she could not stop the desire. The enemy ships entered the atmosphere, cutting through clouds and magnetic fields. Their sensors scanned frantically, searching for the human. They fired probes, energy pulses, and automated drones. Every alarm in the city screamed a warning. The advisors urged her to act with speed. She ignored them. Instead, she watched the human rise again. Despite the pain, its leg wobbled, its arm ached, but it stood, and when it looked toward the small window where she watched, she felt it notice her. Perhaps not consciously, but a recognition passed between them. Another advisor sent a thought, almost a scream in her mind. Do not allow contact. End it. Preserve the law. She shut them out. The crown pulsed, matching her heartbeat, her thoughts, her intent. She prepared the chamber's energy field for the first real test. She adjusted it to allow partial contact without breaking the rules completely. Just enough for a human touch to reach her indirectly through the barrier. The human, unaware of the adjustment, pressed its hand against the field once more. Light flared slightly, and she felt warmth. A connection that should have been impossible. It was subtle, almost invisible, yet it was real. Her chest tightened. The crown responded violently, signaling danger and exhilaration at the same time. This was forbidden. This was reckless. And yet, she could not stop. The human whispered again, words broken, simple, full of effort. I survive. I try to help. She felt every word. The warmth, the hope, the determination. She realized that humans carried something her people lacked. Something alive, something dangerous, something beautiful. Suddenly, a warning light flashed. Enemy drones had breached the outer atmosphere and were closing in fast. Energy barriers around the city began to hum, machines activated at maximum power. The advisor shouted through thought, demanding action. She acted. The city shifted position, invisible, yet mobile. Sensors jammed enemy signals. Defense systems activated silently. The drones passed by, scanning, but they could not locate the human or the city. The human, oblivious, continued to move slowly, carefully. Every step was effortful, painful, but precise. It cleaned small debris from the warper aliens, checked panels, and muttered to itself in that strange, soft human voice. She wanted to reach through the field, to touch the human directly, to see if it could feel her, but she did not. Not yet. She feared the consequence too much. Instead, she observed. Hours passed, and the human grew stronger. Machines worked to repair the worst damage, but it was the human spirit that impressed her most. Each small movement, each careful touch, each word whispered into empty air spoke of resilience she had never known. She realized her people had lived long and safely because they avoided risk. They avoided pain. They avoided touch. They avoided life. And yet here, in this fragile human, was life unbroken by fear, unshaken by danger, unafraid of suffering. A thought struck her. Perhaps this was why humans survived so long on their harsh planets. Perhaps this was why they had come this far, even when they were weak, even when they were small. Her mind returned to the approaching enemy. Drones and ships could not detect the city, but they could wait, watch, and strike if needed. She had limited time to make a choice. The human's hand pressed again against the field. She felt it clearly this time. The warmth spread through her chest and into her crown. It was dangerous, and yet it was not harming her. For a brief moment, she allowed herself to imagine what it would feel like to touch the human fully, to feel its skin against hers. The advisors screamed in her mind. End the connection. Preserve law. She did not. Instead, she leaned closer. She allowed herself to feel the human's heartbeat, the rise and fall of its chest, the tremble of its fingers. And in return, she felt something she had never known: hope. The human looked up at the faint shimmer in the air, feeling, though not understanding, that someone watched, that someone cared. It whispered again, "I am here. I survive." The crowned lady remained still, her small body tense, her crown pulsing violently. She could feel danger closing in, but she refused to turn away. She refused to obey the cold logic of her advisors. For the first time, she had chosen something purely for herself, and for the first time, she wondered what it would cost her. The human's survival had become her secret, her risk, her desire, and she would do whatever was needed to protect it, even if it meant defying everything she had ever known. The enemy ships were closer now, their dark shapes cutting through the clouds below the floating city. They were fast, precise, and dangerous. Sensors flashed warnings to every corner of the city, alerting the crowned lady and her advisors. The council's thoughts filled her mind with panic and logic. We must release the human, hide the city, preserve ourselves. She ignored them. The human was fragile, yes, but alive. And alive was worth more than safety. The city shifted slightly, invisible to enemy scanners, but the human inside did not notice the movements. The soft blue light of the chamber glimmered across the human's face as it tested small machines, touching panels, and muttering soft words in its strange voice. Every movement was careful, every step measured, every gesture thoughtful. Her crown pulsed as she watched. It responded to her feelings, warning her of danger, signaling her body to prepare, but also echoing something new: curiosity, fascination, and longing. The human pressed a hand again against the thin energy barrier, and this time, the crowned lady felt it fully. The warmth of the human's touch spread into the crown and flowed into her small chest. A small pulse of life passed between them, almost unnoticed, but unmistakable. Suddenly, an alert flashed violently across the city's sensors. Enemy drones had broken through the outer defenses. They had located one of the hidden sectors. Their lights cut through the haze, scanning, searching, aiming. "Move the human to a secure zone," an advisor demanded in thought. "It is too exposed." "No," she replied sharply, her mind focused. "It stays here. I will protect it." The advisors froze. They could not understand the feeling that drove her. Logic did not explain why she would risk herself for a human. Emotion did not exist in her world, but she felt it anyway. A siren sounded. Not loud, not harsh, but enough to make her pulse quicken. The human looked up, startled. Its eyes widened at the sudden alarm. The worker aliens scuttled quickly to their positions, warning and guiding the human. The crowned lady realized that the human did not panic. Even when danger approached, it remained alert, aware, and cautious. That was what made it extraordinary. Humans did not fear like her people. They feared, yes, but they acted despite it. The drones began to descend. Their movements were precise, programmed, relentless. They moved in patterns designed to locate energy signatures, to isolate life forms. One small error could reveal the human, could expose it to capture or death. The crowned lady raised her small hand again, hovering over the observation panel. She could intervene, but the crown warned her. Direct interference might destabilize the city's systems. She could risk herself, but then the human would be safe. The choice was hers. She chose action. The city's walls shimmered and shifted, folding like liquid metal to hide the observation chamber. Energy fields flared, creating decoy signals to mislead the enemy drones. Machines worked silently, quietly, and efficiently. The drones passed, confused, scanning and rescanning the empty sector. Their engines hummed dangerously close, but they could not locate the human. The human, unaware, continued to explore. It examined panels, adjusted levers, and observed the worker aliens. Its curiosity was unbroken even under threat. Her chest tightened as she watched. Every small act of courage, every simple decision, fascinated her. It was unlike anything she had ever seen. Suddenly, one of the drones fired a pulse directly toward the chamber. The shield absorbed it, but the energy ripple caused the human to stumble. Its hand pressed against the soft wall in instinct, and the crowned lady felt the impact like a jolt through her chest. The human's fear was real, sharp, and raw. She almost reached through the field to steady it, but she resisted. One touch could kill her. Instead, she focused the city's defenses. Another pulse fired, and this time, the chamber's shield reflected it harmlessly. The human fell to the floor, breathing hard, clutching a panel for support. The worker aliens gathered close, chirping softly, guiding it to safety. The crowned lady felt an unfamiliar surge of pride. Despite danger, despite injury, despite confusion, the human acted. It protected others, even without understanding them fully. The crown pulsed violently in response to the emotional intensity. It was dangerous, yes, but alive. Alive was stronger than fear. Hours passed. The human rested briefly, lying on a soft mat provided by the city's machines. Its chest rose and fell in shallow breaths. It spoke softly, words broken but filled with effort. I. Help, must, protect. Her heart, or whatever passed for her heart, tightened. These words, faint and fragile, reached her in ways thought forbidden. They stirred something inside her, a warmth she could not name. Another alert. Enemy ships were near, skimming the upper atmosphere. They had not yet located the city, but they were close enough to detect energy fluctuations. Every sensor in the city blared warnings. The advisors demanded immediate evacuation. She shook her small head. The human must stay. She would not abandon it. Not now, not ever. Suddenly, the chamber doors opened slightly. Worker aliens rushed to secure the area, guiding the human. But something unexpected happened. The human tried to follow them, but then stopped, turning toward the faint shimmer of the observation window where she watched. Its eyes narrowed, sensing a presence, a careful attention it could not understand. She felt a surge of panic. One glance from the human could reveal her, even indirectly. Yet, she could not look away. She wanted to see it, to study it, to understand it. The human approached the energy barrier. Its hand hovered, trembling, then pressed lightly against the shimmering field. The crown flared in response. She felt the human's warmth, fragile yet alive, radiating through the energy. The connection was small, almost imperceptible, but it was enough. Enough to send a pulse through her crown, through her small body, through her thoughts. Enough to make her aware of something dangerous. Desire, longing, connection. The advisors shouted through thought, "End it! End it now! Preserve law!" She ignored them. Another pulse of energy came from the enemy drones. The shields absorbed it, but the chamber shook. The human stumbled, nearly falling again. Instinctively, it reached toward the field, pressing with both hands. The crown pulsed violently. She felt the full force of the human's fear, its effort, its courage. Her body tensed. Every instinct screamed that she should stop, that she should retreat, that she should obey the law and preserve herself. But she could not. She could not remove her attention from the human, could not stop feeling its small, strange human warmth. The human's voice came, low and broken. "I must survive, must. Help." The words echoed through the crown, sending shockwaves of emotion. Desire, fear, hope, courage. It was all there. She had never felt anything like it. Her small hands trembled. The energy barrier hummed with power, responding to her emotional state. Suddenly, the city shuddered. One of the enemy drones had pierced the outer perimeter. Machines whirred violently, sending warnings throughout the chambers. Worker aliens scurried, guiding the human to safety. The human paused, then turned toward the approaching threat. It picked up a small control panel, examining it, pressing buttons instinctively. Machines responded to its input, stabilizing minor malfunctions. It did not understand the technology fully, but its curiosity and persistence worked. The crowned lady leaned closer to the field. Her small hand hovered above it. She could touch. She wanted to touch. One brief contact could transmit warmth, energy, and life between them. One brief touch could connect them. One brief touch could kill her. She resisted. Instead, she watched as the humans stabilized the chamber, guided the worker aliens, and prepared for the next wave of enemy attacks. Every movement, small but decisive, revealed something astonishing: human courage, human resilience, human will. And then the first enemy drone breached a nearby wall. The human froze, eyes wide. It did not scream, did not panic, but instinctively raised a panel as a shield. The drone fired, a pulse of energy that ripped through the chamber. Sparks flew, metal twisted, and the human fell. The crowned lady felt a wave of panic unlike anything she had known. The crown flared violently, warning her that her body might collapse if she did not act. One instinctual thought overcame her fear. She sent a command to the chamber defenses. Energy fields surged, deflecting the enemy pulse. The human lay on the ground, breathing heavily. Its small voice came again. "I must survive." She realized something vital. Humans did not survive by avoiding danger. They survived by facing it, by enduring pain, by refusing to surrender. And in that moment, she understood why she had risked everything for this single human. Another drone approached. The human rose slowly, pain visible in every movement. It did not retreat. It did not scream. It moved toward the small control console near the chamber, pressing buttons instinctively. Machines responded. Energy fields flared. Sparks flew. The drone could not reach it. The crowned lady felt a warmth surge through her chest. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine what it would feel like to touch the human, to feel its warmth directly, without barriers, without laws. The human's hand pressed against the energy field again. This time, she felt it fully, in every pulse of her crown, in every trembling fiber of her small body. Connection, real, dangerous, alive. The advisors screamed in thought, demanding she end it. She ignored them. She could not. The enemy drones retreated slightly, unable to breach the city defenses. The human, exhausted and injured, sank to the floor briefly. Its breathing was shallow but steady. It whispered softly, words broken and filled with effort. "I survive. Help. Survive." The crowned lady leaned closer, small hands trembling. The energy barrier vibrated with life, reflecting the connection between them. She realized she had already risked everything. She had already chosen the human over law, over safety, over fear. And she would continue to do so. The city remained hidden. The human remained alive. And in the quiet, glowing chamber, separated by a thin energy field, two lives connected in a way neither could fully understand. One small, fragile human, and one tiny, crowned ruler, both defying logic, both defying law, both facing a dangerous world together. And outside, the enemy ships waited, unaware that the true threat to their mission was not the city's power, but the fragile, courageous human heart inside it. The floating city trembled. Machines whined and lights flickered as the enemy ships pressed closer, slicing through the atmosphere like sharp knives. Sensors screamed warnings, and alarms pulsed in every chamber. The crowned lady's small body floated above her seat, her crown glowing faintly as it absorbed every signal, every vibration, every danger. The human lay on the floor of the chamber, injured, exhausted, and breathing shallowly. Sparks from damaged panels scattered across the soft floor. The worker aliens hurried around, trying to stabilize systems and protect the human, but the task was overwhelming. The city itself seemed to shudder with fear. The crowned lady's chest tightened. Every instinct urged her to obey law, retreat, and protect herself. Every instinct screamed at her advisors. They were loud, sharp, frantic in thought. "Evacuate! Save the city! Leave the human!" She ignored them. Her eyes remained on the human. It had survived falling, fire, and injury. It had faced impossible odds, and it had not given up. Suddenly, a deep rumble shook the chamber. Machines sputtered, and the floor tilted slightly. One of the enemy drones had fired directly at a core section of the city. Energy fields pulsed, trying to absorb the blow, but the damage was severe. Sparks flew from damaged conduits, and alarms rang out in rapid succession. The crowned lady realized the city was losing stability. The energy fields could only hold for so long. If she did not act quickly, the entire floating structure might collapse. She rose from her seat, her small hands moving across the control panels. She removed one layer of protection from her crown to focus entirely on manual control. The crown flared violently, warning her of risk, warning her of weakness. Without the crown's full power, her body would weaken rapidly. She might even die if she continued. She ignored the warning. The human, seeing the sparks and the tremor, crawled toward the nearest control panel. Its movements were slow and painful, but it persisted. Machines responded to its actions, stabilizing minor faults, repairing circuits where it could. The crowned lady's eyes widened. The human was helping. It did not understand her language, did not know the systems fully, yet its instinct and persistence worked. The enemy drones circled, firing pulses that shattered nearby walls and damaged conduits. The human ducked under a flickering console, pressing buttons and levers with hands that shook but did not stop. Its voice came again, low, strained, but steady. "Help! Help! Survive." The crowned lady's small body trembled as she watched. Every movement of the human seemed impossible. Every breath, every action was a defiance of reality, and every pulse through the crown told her something she could not ignore. This human was alive, not just in body, but in spirit. Suddenly, the floor of the chamber tilted sharply. The human nearly fell, but instinctively grabbed a support rail. Sparks flew across the room, igniting small fires on the floor. Worker aliens scurried, protecting both the human and sensitive equipment. The crowned lady reached out, her small hands hovering above the energy barrier. One touch could help, one touch could kill her, but the instinct was irresistible. She pulled back. She could not risk it. Not yet. The city shuddered again. One of the energy cores was failing. Machines emitted a high-pitched whine, warning that the structure could collapse in minutes. The human struggled to rise, testing its strength. Each movement caused a small gasp of pain, yet it did not stop. It moved toward the control console that could stabilize the failing core. The crowned lady focused all her attention on the console. She adjusted energy flows, redirected power, and guided the human through the systems using subtle signals the human could interpret. Its hands pressed levers, turned panels, and touched screens, following invisible guidance that only she could send. Hours passed. Sweat, ash, and fatigue coated the human's body, but it continued. Every small action, every simple movement reflected courage that no machine could replicate. And all the while, the enemy drones circled, waiting, scanning, and ready to strike at the first sign of failure. The crowned lady felt a surge of admiration. Humans were unlike anything her people had ever known. They did not obey law. They did not follow protocol. They did not calculate outcomes with cold logic. They acted. They endured. They fought. And somehow, against all reason, they survived. Suddenly, one of the enemy drones broke through the chamber's outer shield. It fired a pulse directly at the human. The panel shielded the body partially, but sparks flew, and the human collapsed under the impact. The worker aliens shouted warnings, rushing to stabilize it. The crowned lady's small hands trembled. She realized she could not just watch. She had to act. One wrong move could destroy the city or kill her, but she could not allow the human to die. She adjusted the energy field again, lowering it slightly to give the human better protection. Sparks of energy flared and illuminated the chamber. The human, feeling the subtle shift, raised its head, blinking at the faint shimmer that separated them. Its eyes, wide and alert, seemed to sense a presence, though it could not understand it. Her crown pulsed violently. One touch could connect them, could allow her to stabilize the human directly through the field, but one touch could also kill her. The human struggled to rise. Pain twisted its face, but determination burned in its eyes. Slowly, carefully, it approached the failing core. Hands shaking, it adjusted levers, pressed panels, and followed the guidance it did not fully understand. Another enemy pulse struck the chamber. Sparks flew across the floor, igniting small fires. The human stumbled, nearly falling. Worker aliens rushed to its side. It pressed hands against the panel, breathing heavily, and continued. The crowned lady could not stop watching. Every pulse of the crown reflected the human's pain, courage, and determination. Every small act of survival sent waves of warmth and life through her body. She felt the human's heartbeat, weak but strong. She felt its fear, sharp but controlled. She felt its hope, fragile but unbroken. Suddenly, a large section of the energy conduit failed. Sparks leapt across the room, and the floor tilted dangerously. The human gasped, reaching out instinctively, pressing a lever that stabilized the core just enough to prevent collapse. Machines hummed in response, stabilizing other sections. The enemy drones fired again, but the city's defenses absorbed most of the damage. The Crown Lady's small body trembled. She realized the human had saved part of the city by instinct, by courage, by sheer will. No machine, no advisor, no protocol could have done what it had done. She leaned closer to the energy barrier. Her small hands hovered above it. She could touch. She wanted to touch. One brief contact could transmit warmth and energy between them. One brief contact could connect them in a way she had never known. One brief contact could also kill her. Her heart, or whatever served as her heartbeat, rapidly. She closed her eyes for a moment, struggling with the law, with reason, with fear. Then she opened them. The human's hand pressed lightly against the barrier. The crown flared in response. Warmth passed through her, subtle but unmistakable. Connection. Alive. Real. The human whispered, weak but determined. I survive, must help. She felt it, every word, every pulse, every breath. Danger surrounded them. The city teetered on the edge of collapse, and enemy ships waited just beyond sensors. Yet she felt something stronger than fear. Hope, courage, connection, life. Suddenly, another tremor shook the chamber. Sparks flew, and the floor tilted sharply. The human fell, but instinctively reached out to steady itself on the panel. Machines flared to life, guided by her subtle commands. Energy fields stabilized momentarily. The crowned lady's small body shook with exhaustion, but she could not stop. Hours passed. The human continued to act, repairing systems, stabilizing energy flows, and guiding worker aliens. Pain twisted its body, but the will to survive burned brighter. The crowned lady could feel every breath, every movement, every heartbeat. The connection was fragile, delicate, but alive. And then, a small alarm sounded, not loud, not harsh, but precise. One of the enemy drones had returned, targeting the chamber directly. Its pulse would breach the energy barrier if not redirected. The crowned lady made a choice. She reached through the barrier with the crown's energy, guiding the human's hands with invisible pulses. Sparks flew, lights flashed, but the human acted quickly, following subtle nudges and instinctive understanding. The drone's pulse missed. The chamber survived. The human collapsed against the floor, breathing heavily, eyes closed, body shaking from exhaustion. The worker aliens gathered close, whispering warnings and encouragement. The crowned lady felt a warmth, dangerous and forbidden, pass through the crown. It was the human's energy, life, and courage. It had touched her, even without contact. She leaned back, small body, trembling. The city was stable for now, but only barely. Every machine, every energy field, every panel depended on the human's continued effort and her subtle guidance. The enemy ships waited, circling the atmosphere, unaware that a single human, fragile and injured, had saved a floating city from collapse through courage and instinct. The crowned lady pressed her small hands against the observation panel. One day she would touch it directly. One day she would feel what no ruler had ever felt. But for now she watched, silently, as the human breathed, survived, and endured. And she knew something she had never known before. This human had already changed her. It had shown her that life was not only about law, not only about safety, not only about survival. Life was courage. Life was connection. Life was touch. And the danger was far from over. The city trembled, The enemy waited, and the human still had to stand again. But for the first time, the crowned lady felt ready. The floating city shuddered under the strain of its damaged systems. Sparks flickered across walls, conduits twisted under heat, and alarms whispered warnings in every corner. The enemy ships circled above, relentless and precise, waiting for the slightest weakness to strike. Yet inside the central chamber, the human still moved. Its body was battered, muscles trembling, arms aching, and chest rising and falling unevenly. Despite exhaustion, it pressed toward the console that controlled the city's main energy flow. Every step was an effort, every hand movement strained against pain. Yet the human persisted. Its determination seemed endless, impossible, alive. The crowned lady floated above her small seat, eyes fixed on the scene. Her crown glowed softly, pulsing in tune with the city's energy and the human's heartbeat. She felt it, every pulse, every shiver, every breath. The warmth of the human's courage, so raw and simple, spread through her small body. It was dangerous, forbidden, and intoxicating. Her advisors screamed in thought, "Evacuate! Save yourself! Leave it! Preserve the law!" She ignored them. She had already chosen. The human had survived fire, falling, injury, and chaos. It had endured every impossible test without surrendering. She would not abandon it now. Not for law, not for safety, not for fear. The human reached the central console and pressed a panel with shaking hands. Sparks erupted, but the machine responded. Energy flows stabilized slightly. The city trembled less. The human groaned, pain etched across its face. Yet it continued. The crowned lady hovered closer to the observation window. Small hands hovering near the energy barrier, she could touch. One brief contact might transmit warmth, life, and energy between them. One brief touch could save or destroy her. One brief touch could connect them in a way she had never known. She resisted. The human collapsed against the console. Its hands pressed weakly against the panel, and it whispered, soft and broken, "I survive. Must survive." Its voice echoed through the chamber, heard faintly through the crown, and she felt every word, every pulse of effort, every breath of hope, every shiver of fear. Then another tremor rocked the city. One of the enemy drones had breached the outer perimeter and fired directly at a central energy hub. Sparks exploded, systems faltered, and alarms screamed. The human struggled to rise. Pain twisted its face, yet determination burned in its eyes. It moved toward the failing hub, ignoring every warning from its own body. The crowned lady realized she could not watch from the distance any longer. She focused every ounce of energy she had, sending invisible guidance to the human's hands. Her crown flared, signaling risk and danger. Her small body weakened, muscles trembling under the strain. One more pulse, and she might collapse. One more burst of energy, and she could die. She ignored the risk. The human's hands pressed levers, rotated panels, and adjusted conduits, following the subtle pulses of guidance it could not consciously perceive. Sparks flew. Systems stabilized momentarily. The city trembled, but did not collapse. Her small chest tightened. She felt the human's fear, every shiver, every heartbeat. She felt its courage, raw and alive, and she realized, with a shock, that it had touched her in ways no one else ever could. Not through sight, not through thought, not through law. It had touched her heart. Suddenly, the energy conduit feeding the crown flickered. Her connection to the city wavered. Sparks flew from her crown's interface. She felt weakness crawl through her body. If she collapsed now, systems might fail, and the human would die. She could not allow it. She removed the final layer of protection from the crown. Her body shivered violently as energy surged through her small frame. Every pulse carried life, danger, and connection. One false move could kill her. Yet she pressed on, sending guidance, warmth, and life to the human. The human's hands moved in response, adjusting levers, pressing panels, following instinct and invisible signals. Energy flowed into the failing hub. Systems stabilized. Sparks subsided. The city held. For a brief moment, silence returned. Machines hummed quietly. Systems realigned. Energy flows steady. The human slumped against the console, breathing heavily, chest rising and falling unevenly, muscles shaking. Worker aliens gathered close, protecting it from further harm. The crowned lady's small body trembled. Her crown pulsed softly, reflecting exhaustion, fear, and relief. She wanted to reach through the barrier, to touch the human directly, to feel it fully, without risk, without law, without fear. But she hesitated. One touch might destroy her fragile body. The human raised its head, blinking through pain and exhaustion. Its eyes, wide and alert, seemed to sense her presence, not consciously but instinctively. It looked toward the faint shimmer of the barrier. A soft whisper escaped its lips. "I feel something." Her small hands trembled. She leaned closer to the energy field. One short touch. Just one. She could feel its heartbeat through the crown. She could feel its warmth. She could feel its life. The human stretched a hand slowly, cautiously, and pressed it lightly against the shimmering energy. The crown flared violently, sending warmth, energy, and life into her small body. Every nerve, every pulse, every thought was alive with the human's courage, its determination, its fragile, dangerous spirit. She felt it, truly felt it. The human gasped, eyes wide, feeling something strange and new. A pulse of energy, warmth, and life passed through the field into its hands. It could not understand what it was, but it knew it was safe. Somehow, inexplicably, it was safe. The crowned lady's advisors screamed in thought. "End it! End it now! Preserve the law! Preserve the city!" She ignored them. Hours passed as the human rested briefly against the panel, then rose again. Its body ached, its muscles trembled, but it moved. Systems remained stable, and the city, battered and trembling, held together. Outside, enemy ships circled, scanning, waiting. They could not see the human. They could not see the city. Their probes passed through, confused by shields and energy interference. The human had survived again, against impossible odds. The crowned lady hovered close to the field, small hands trembling. The human looked at her, unafraid now, eyes wide with understanding that she could not name. They shared a moment, silent, connected through energy, warmth, and courage. She realized something profound. This human had changed her. Not the city, not the laws, not the crown, but her. It had shown her courage, resilience, and life in ways her people never could. It had shown her connection, warmth, and hope. The human's voice came again, low and weak. "I survive, help, survive." She felt it. Every word, every pulse, every breath, life itself. A sudden tremor shook the chamber. Sparks flew. The floor tilted. Another drone fired at the outer energy field. The human nearly fell, but steadied itself with a trembling hand. She felt panic, fear, and hope collide in her chest. She could not reach fully. She could not touch fully. But she could guide, protect, and connect through the crown. The human pressed panels, adjusted levers, moved instinctively to stabilize failing systems. Energy flared, lights hummed, machines responded. Every action, small and simple, reflected courage that no advisor, no machine, no law could replicate. Her small body trembled, the crown pulsed, reflecting the human's life and warmth. She had never felt so alive, so connected, so vulnerable. One touch, one connection, one moment of courage had changed everything. The human collapsed briefly, exhausted, but it looked up at the faint shimmer of the barrier. Its eyes, wide and alert, met hers. They did not speak words, but they understood each other. Courage. Connection. The city held. Barely. Ah. The enemy's ships waited, unaware that a single human, battered and injured, had saved a floating city through courage, instinct, and unbroken will. The crowned lady's small hands hovered near the energy field. One day she would touch it fully. One day she would feel what no ruler had ever felt. But for now, she watched, protected, and connected. And in that moment, she realized something impossible. The human had already reshaped her world. It had shown her that law was not enough, that safety was not enough, that isolation was not enough. Life demanded courage. Life demanded connection. Life demanded risk. And the human had given all of that, freely, simply, beautifully. She did not know what would happen next. The city remained on the edge of collapse. The enemy waited above, silent and precise. But she felt ready, because for the first time she had chosen not for law, not for fear, not for survival alone, but for life itself. And life, she realized, was worth everything. The floating city trembled under the strain of its battered systems. Sparks flew across walls, conduits twisted, and alarms rang with shrill urgency. The enemy ships circled above, dark shapes moving silently through the clouds, waiting for a chance to strike. Inside the central chamber, the human struggled to stand. Every muscle burned, every breath came hard, and blood still coated scratches along its arms and face. The crowned lady hovered near the observation window, her crown glowing faintly. Her small body shivered, exhaustion etched into every motion, yet she could not look away. The human had survived fire, falling, and injury. It had endured chaos, pain, and fear, and now, for the first time, it faced the city itself, failing around it. Her crown pulsed violently as she watched. Every heartbeat, every shiver, every labored breath of the human traveled through it, filling her with warmth, fear, and life. The advisors screamed in thought. "Evacuate! Preserve the law! Protect yourself!"
"Leave it!"
She ignored them. The human approached the main control console. Sparks danced across the floor, fires flared from broken panels, and energy readings plunged toward critical failure. Still, it pressed forward. Hands shaking, it adjusted levers and panels, pressing buttons instinctively. Machines responded to its actions, stabilizing damaged circuits just enough to prevent total collapse. A sudden tremor rocked the city. One of the enemy drones had breached a weak section of the outer shield. Energy flares danced across the chamber as the human stumbled. nearly falling. Worker aliens rushed to support it, guiding it toward the console. The crowned lady's hands hovered above the energy barrier. One touch could help. One touch could kill her. One touch could connect them in ways she had never felt before. She hesitated. Ja ben. One step, one mistake, 1 second could change everything. The human reached for a lever, teeth gritted against pain, muscles trembling. Sparks flew from a broken conduit and ignited a small fire near the floor. Instinctively, it pressed a panel to redirect energy, stabilizing the section momentarily. Machines hummed in response, but the city still groaned. Her crown flared violently. She felt the human's life, fragile yet stubborn, burn through her small body. Every pulse, every heartbeat, every shiver told her one thing clearly. It would not give up. It would not surrender. The human looked up toward the faint shimmer of the energy barrier. Its eyes, wide and alert, seemed to sense her presence. Though it could not see her fully, it knew she was there, watching, guiding, caring. It whispered softly, broken words laced with effort. I survive must, survive must. Help, she could feel it, every word, every pulse, every breath. And then the crown flared with a warning. One of the energy conduits feeding the city's defenses was about to fail completely. Sparks erupted, and the floor tilted dangerously. The human stumbled, falling against the console. Pain twisted its face, but determination burned brighter. Slowly, carefully, it reached up and pressed levers and panels again, stabilizing the failing conduit. Sparks flew, fires flared, but machines responded, systems hummed, and the city trembled less. She realized she could not just watch anymore. Her small hands trembled above the barrier. One touch. One brief touch might stabilize the human, might transmit warmth, might save both of them. One touch could also destroy her fragile body. Her mind screamed with law, with fear, with logic. Stop! End it! Preserve yourself! Preserve the city! She ignored it. The human raised its head, blinking through exhaustion and pain. Its gaze met hers through the faint shimmer. She could see recognition there, faint but real. Instinctive understanding, courage, life, survival, connection. The crowned lady leaned closer to the energy barrier. She could feel the human's pulse clearly, its warmth, its strength. Her small hands trembled, and her chest tightened. She whispered in thought, not to the human, but to herself, I will not let it die. I will not. The human stretched a trembling hand toward the shimmer and pressed it lightly against the energy barrier. The crown flared violently, sending warmth and life into her small body. Every nerve, every pulse, every thought was alive with the human's courage, determination, and fragile, dangerous spirit. She felt it, truly felt it. The human gasped, feeling a strange warmth pass through the barrier. Its fingers tingled, its heart raced. It did not understand why, but it knew it was safe. Somehow, inexplicably, it was safe. The city trembled again. Sparks flew from the damaged sections, and fires erupted in places. One of the enemy drones fired a pulse directly at the chamber. The human froze, eyes wide. Machines shuddered, energy flares twisted across the floor. The crowned lady reached through the energy barrier with the crown's power, sending pulses of guidance, warmth, and life directly into the human's hands. Its fingers followed instinctively, adjusting panels and levers, stabilizing energy flows just enough to prevent collapse. Sparks danced, alarms screamed, but the human persevered. Finally, systems began to stabilize. Fires reduced, sparks died out. Energy readings slowly climbed. The city groaned but held together. The human collapsed against the console, chest rising and falling heavily. Its body shook from exhaustion, every movement painful. Worker aliens gathered around, whispering and chirping softly. Ah! The crowned lady pressed her small hands fully against the energy barrier. She leaned closer than ever, allowing her crown to transmit her life, her warmth, her pulse into the human. The connection was full, real, and alive. The human gasped, feeling the energy flow into its hands, chest, and mind. A strange warmth, stronger than anything it had felt before, coursed through its body. Its exhaustion remained, but its will strengthened. Somehow, through the shimmer, the tiny crowned figure had reached it, connected to it, shared life with it. For a long, tense moment, neither moved. Only energy, warmth, and life passed between them. Outside, enemy ships waited silently, unaware that their attacks had been thwarted not by technology alone, but by courage, determination, and connection. The human finally whispered, soft but clear, "I feel you. Help me." Her small body trembled violently, and the crown pulsed in response. She whispered, not aloud but in thought, in pulse, in warmth, "I protect you. Survive." For the first time, laws, fears, and limits meant nothing. Two lives connected through courage, warmth, and simple touch. One small human, fragile yet unbroken. One tiny crowned ruler, exhausted yet defiant. Together they had saved the floating city. Outside, the enemy ships retreated, confused by failing sensors, energy interference, and unexpected resilience. They could not locate the human. They could not touch the city. Their mission had failed, not because of weapons, not because of strategy, but because of courage, determination, and the simple, dangerous strength of life itself. Hours passed. The human lay resting against the console, breathing slowly, chest rising and falling unevenly. The crowned lady's small body hovered nearby, still connected through the shimmer. Her crown pulsed softly, reflecting warmth, safety, and life. Finally, the human slowly raised its head. Eyes wide with fatigue met hers. No words were needed. They understood each other completely. Survival, courage, connection, hope, life. She reached closer, tiny fingers trembling. This time, she dared more. A small, careful touch passed through the energy barrier. Skin met energy shimmer, warmth met warmth, pulse met pulse. A fragile human hand and a small crowned hand connected fully, dangerously, beautifully. The human gasped, feeling warmth, protection, and life flow into it. It returned the touch, instinctively, hesitantly, but fully. Alive, real, dangerous, perfect. The city hummed around them, systems stabilizing slowly. Sparks subsided. Fires died. Machines whirred quietly. The enemy ships retreated beyond clouds, unable to detect or interfere further. The crowned lady and the human remained connected through the energy barrier, their hands trembling together, sharing warmth, pulse, and life. Neither spoke. Words were unnecessary. Courage, survival, and connection were enough. At last, the crowned lady withdrew slightly, allowing the human to rest fully. Its chest rose and fell evenly, exhaustion slowly giving way to renewed strength. Worker aliens moved around, repairing minor damage, whispering encouragement. She watched, small hands hovering, crown pulsing softly. The human had survived impossible odds. Together, they had saved the floating city. And together they had discovered something new. The power of connection, the strength of life, and the courage to face impossible odds without surrender. Outside, the skies cleared. Enemy ships retreated into the clouds. Mission failed. Inside the city, systems stabilized fully. Machines hummed. Lights glowed softly. The energy barrier shimmered faintly, reflecting the connection that had made all this possible. The human sat slowly, hands still connected through the barrier. Its voice came, soft, broken, but certain. I survive because you? Her small body shivered. Her crown pulsed gently. She whispered, not aloud but in warmth, in pulse, in life. Because of you. A quiet silence fell over the city. Not fear, not alarms, not danger. Only life, only courage, only connection, only hope. For the first time in centuries, the crowned lady smiled. And for the first time, the human knew it was truly safe. The floating city had survived. 2 lives had survived, and the impossible had become real.